Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 11 of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, The Wolf Inside. And this was another really solid episode of the series. I really like what they do with the lore of the series here and the parallels that they draw between some of the characters. And there's some unexpected twists and just some really nice moments. It's a very enjoyable episode of the series. What I think I like best about this episode is, unsurprisingly, what's going on with Vok, and I'm not going to call him Ash anymore because that doesn't really quite fit, and Burnham. Burnham during this episode says, like, when she's talking about her mirror universe counterpart, she's the old Michael Burnham, I'm the new Michael Burnham. And that does really kind of fit well with what's going on with her and what's going on with Vok. Ash Tyler was the new Vok, and ultimately it's the old Vok who wins out. And he's driven to that by seeing the mirror universe version of himself, who is, a respected and wise and noble leader, and yet at the same time he's everything that the regular universe's Vok would despise. He is a Klingon who, in normal Vok, regular universe Vok's eyes, has betrayed everything that he himself believes. It's a horrible mirror reflection of himself, and that's what breaks him through, that allows him to take over. And it is interesting just to think about how horrified the mirror universe people would be looking at the versions of ourselves that we know and love. I mean, think about Tilly. She would be disgusted by regular universe Tilly. She'd see her as someone pathetic and weak, the antithesis of everything that she has strove to be for her entire life. And it is a very compelling thought if you were to meet a version of yourself that is in basically every way the exact opposite of yourself. And how could you not really feel horror and perhaps disgust? And yet there are other possibilities out there. I mean, what would Saru think of his universe's self? He's someone who's just had the misfortune to be a slave all of his life. And there does seem to genuinely, we get nothing to indicate that Saru in the mirror universe is not a good person. Burnham shows him a little bit of kindness, and he responds by helping to save her life. So anyway, the stuff with Burnham and Vok was really nicely done, and just the whole horror of everything dawning on Burnham as Vok lays it out for her. I mean, it's just like, man, what an absolute punch to the gut at the worst possible time. Meeting Mirror Universe Sarek. Now that's quite intriguing. You kind of have to wonder, like, man, what was his relationship with Mirror Universe Spock like? Given, safe to say, it was also probably not a terribly happy relationship. But still, it's just like, man, there must have been a really interesting story there. And again, if you think about the ultimate fate of Mirror Universe Spock, once again showing that at the end of the day, Spock and Sarek were in many ways not really as different as they once thought. And of course, Vok and Mirror Universe Sarek getting killed. Well, okay, we know from Deep Space Nine that the human empire was not going to be going anywhere soon. Never mind the original series. So yeah, that was not an enormous surprise. Speaking of stuff that really wasn't a huge surprise, Giordano turning out to be the Emperor. okay, now this is something that crossed my mind, and other people had kind of brought up this possibility to me too. And the idea of, like, the emperor actually being a woman and then just using male pronouns. Like, okay, I was honestly hoping the show would be a little bit more clever than that. I mean, it's really just such an obvious dodge to drag out the mystery for just one more episode. Now, granted, if they'd said the Empress, were like, well, it has to be Giordano. But even without that, it's like, okay, there's no real male characters that they could logically bring on the show and have them be the Emperor that we would care about. Who could the Emperor turn out to be that would have an enormous emotional and thus storytelling resonance with one of the characters that we have not seen here on the show? Well, the person that makes the most sense is Giordano. I mean, at the end of the day, Burnham is still the main character. So, I mean, I understand why they were trying to do this. It's just, it's just like, man, really? Did you have to do this little song and dance just to drag it out a little bit longer? I mean, why not just, all right, well, whatever. I definitely did Lorca and Burnham having that moment of bonding there in the conference room, where Lorca says, like, look, I know we're in a bad situation here, but you're not alone. You've got me. Which I really think is one of the most humanizing moments he's had this series so far. Lorca's done a lot of really shady stuff, but here he is being completely genuine. There's no doubt about it. And this really does speak quite well to Lorca, that whatever gray and probably outright black things he's done, that there is still some good left in him, some genuine humanity, some compassion for others, which really does add nicely to his character. Saru as the acting captain, also really, really nicely done. I do like seeing this level of strength from Saru. I like that, even though, he had that moment where he said, like, I've never had a moment in my life until now where I wasn't afraid. It's easy to kind of think about that and perhaps view Saru as a cowardly person. But here, this demonstrates that he's anything but. Feeling fear doesn't make you a coward. It's overcoming that fear. And if you have to think about it, Saru and the other members of his race, I mean, that's what they do. They overcome their fear and just go on about their lives every single day. They battle fear every moment of their life. That's something. I mean, that's really something if you stop and think about it for a moment. And then, of course, we get the moment where Stamets meets his mirror universe counterpart, and this is gonna be interesting. So yeah, guys, this is a really solid episode of the series. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I am already very excited to see the next episode, and I hope you will join me for my review of that as well. So with that said, guys, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. You can, of course, join me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi, and please also join me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer. Until next time, take care and have a good one.